It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio today is Charlie Gischlar. He's the spokesperson at the Maryland State Highway Administration. He's the one we all get mad at when we're stuck in traffic.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, Charlie, for joining me today.
Sure.
All right, we're here in Annapolis. Let's talk about all the roads right here in Annapolis, and then we'll move out north of Annapolis and talk about and south of. Starting here, is there any hope for the Severn River Bridge anytime in the near future?
Yes, there is a project to add capacity to that, which I think will be starting at some point this fall.
Really?
Yeah, so...
add capacity, so we're going to have 7 lanes going both directions.
No, not quite, but the Severn River Bridge is actually 2 structures.
Okay.
It's 2 bridges. And what the engineers are going to do is make it 1 structure underneath. Yeah, so that would free up some room to be able to then restripe that bridge and do a little excavation and add another lane in there. So
you will have how many lanes going each direction, do you think?
To be honest with you, I forget, but it's going to be definitely heading, I think, westbound. You're going to have a lane as well, and possibly eastbound as well, too. People can get all the information on our website at roads.maryland.gov under projects page.
Okay.
It'll give you everything you need to do with that. Hopefully that will help end that bottleneck over there.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's welcome news. Yeah. I had no idea. And that will be starting maybe?
Yeah, we're going to probably the fall at some point, yeah. We're going to, believe me, we'll be out there with plenty of notice.
All right. So we do not need to start thinking about a ferry system on the Severn River.
No.
That's good news. Route 2 North. Mm-hmm. Any hope with Route 2 North going into the future?
Yes. Well, we did some intersection improvements right above the Arnold area where we added some capacity with turn lanes and things of that nature. So that's actually helping a lot.
However, as you drive north through Arnold, you see all sorts of houses going in on both sides of the road, and BGE will eventually be building a substation, it looks like, along in there, which is going to add...
And the way this works, when something, whether it's commercial and that BGE substation would be considered a commercial development or residential, and it impacts one of our roadways, the SHA roads or the numbered roads, what we do is we require that developer to submit a traffic study of how many trips are going to be made because of that development. What we're trying to do is maintain the same level of service on the road that it was before that development. So then our engineers look at that traffic study and say, okay, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and they actually have to pay for it. We encourage, development, but we don't want the road to become gridlocked. And if it's already a situation where it's busy, like Ritchie Highway, there might be some turn lanes that have to be put in so it doesn't conflict with the existing traffic.
Okay. So turn lanes might be added once these...
Could be maybe even a through lane, too.
Or are being added.
I have to see what the study says, yeah. For each one is a little bit different because traffic's so finicky. You could be very congested at one point and then break free for a little bit and be pretty much good to go, and then you're into another area where it's, you have a lot of pedestrian generations, you have a lot of, businesses going up between Arnold, Pasadena, Severna Park in the mix there. So
afternoon on Ritchie Highway northbound is not fun.
No.
And then you're adding, but the developers are adding one development after another. I literally saw it the other day, and I was stuck in traffic going up from Route 50 to up towards Smurley forever.
And if you throw something in like on 97, if something happens on 97, then of course that becomes the major alternative route, the old way to get between Baltimore and Annapolis.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a short break. We'll move south of this area and complain about all those roads too. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is the spokesperson at the Maryland State Highway Administration, Charlie Gischlar, and I'm complaining about the roads in Maryland, the state roads in Maryland. Here's some trivia I found on the web, and this doesn't have anything to do, kind of has something to do with state roads. Here's the question. Do you know what the shortest segment distance of any interstate highway is?
The shortest segment?
Shortest segment of any road within the interstate highway system. Also called the Eisenhower highway system. And I know this is interstate, so this is not I'm catching you off guard.
No, I think is it I-270?
It's not. It's 97.
Oh, okay.
It's the shortest
I-97?
segment of
17
any
miles.
in the interstate highway system. Okay, so we've just talked about Route 2 North. We just talked about the Severn River Bridge. Let's move south of Annapolis to Route 2 southbound, where we're seeing some of the same developments, some of the same road concerns. Route 2 South going into 214 too.
Okay.
Any hope with Route 2 South, the Edgewater corridor,
Well,
Annapolis Edgewater corridor?
A couple of years ago, and probably to the chagrin of a lot of the listeners here, we had a lot of these intersection improvement areas where we put bypass lanes in or dedicated left turn lanes because there was a high incidence of rear end crashes because it's a high speed road. Route 2 is.
Right.
Especially as you get right near the Calvert County line. So we had a number, I think it was 4 areas where we did these bypass lanes, which helped. But that being said, there is a lot of development happening, especially south, southern, Anne Arundel County and into Calvert County, especially. Some of the southern Maryland counties are becoming rapidly developed.
Right.
And that's adding a lot of extra traffic on the roadway. And there is always a constant study to see if we can get in there and do some capacity improvements. But, a lot of this has to also do with driver behavior as well. We put speed limit signs. It's, I have a teenage daughter that's just starting to drive. She's a new driver. And it's scary out there, sometimes because
could you I have a few more months to deal with this, so could you please not panic me unnecessarily?
No, I'm not panicking you.
Because mine will be getting a license in November. Or
people are,
thereafter.
You see just flagrant violations sometimes, and of course the police doing everything they can, our partners in the law enforcement community. Right. But we have to say this every time we go out somewhere. We need people to obey the basic rules of the road.
And the
just
police,
because you put your blinker on doesn't mean you can immediately turn. You put your blinker on and you look and then turn. A lot of times we're seeing, and this is more anecdotal than anything, people just cut people off and leave them with no braking distance. Drive responsibly.
And by the way, the police are very responsive to doing traffic enforcement if you call their traffic enforcement officer.
And they're constantly out there, but sometimes it's like holding the ocean back with a broom.
Right.
The complete attention on the road, put cell phone and mobile device in the glove compartment. That's what I told my daughter to do. Make sure you're obeying the speed limit signs. And we always have this reoccurring every year. Somebody gets in a fatal wreck, and it's because of drunk driving or impaired driving now, because it doesn't have to be necessarily alcohol. Yeah. So seriously, start thinking before you get behind the wheel, because you could be putting innocent people at jeopardy.
214. I had the county executive on here a few weeks ago. We were talking about the concerns of those that live on the Mayo Peninsula, one way in, one way out, more and more traffic, more and more development, concerns about parks being opened, concerns about parks that have already opened, and the county exec said he's working with the governor to help 214.
Just try to do something, These big projects, the big projects like interchanges or big widenings, not just like a little 250 feet widening. Right. I'm talking maybe a mile widening. They are what we would call then capital projects. It's based on our 6-year budget that we have. And that is built on the priority of the counties, those types of things. And it could be a major bridge replacement too, big projects like that, big ticket ones. What we do every fall, the Secretary of Transportation will go to every county in the state of Maryland, and we'll sit down with local leaders and elected officials, and they will discuss the priorities. And the counties get together and they have a priority letter that they send to us, and then we start to align funding. When funding becomes available. Now, a lot of these big projects also, you have to do the planning phase of that. There's something called the NEPA document. That's a federal document. Every DOT across the country has to adhere by that, meaning you look at it from a bigger purview.
So nothing's going to happen tomorrow?
Maybe not tomorrow.
It could be happening down the road with 214.
There is also some exciting things happening with technology, bringing that to traffic signals, where you could have traffic signals now that talk to one another on one end of the county to another. So if there's a problem on one end, it can send a signal down to the other and start to either slow the traffic down to flush a queue out up ahead or
speed it up.
Yeah, so that's the technology also that we're looking at.
And we have that?
It's in the development phases right now.
Gosh, that could help Forest Drive.
Yeah, and I think I think it's going to be hitting rather soon, So we are putting our infrastructure in place for that. The traffic control cabinets have space for that type of thing. The computer programs are being studied right now. It's been used across the country now. In the last just couple of years, it's cutting edge technology. So that's something that you're going to be seeing soon.
I do have to say, this is off topic from this, but kind of, sort of. When you call state highway, when I call state highway, to complain about something, ask for a change, the response is immediate. You are the most responsive state agency I have ever encountered. So I call State Highway, I say my name, and I'm sure my phone number pops up in some system.
Sure.
But shortly thereafter, I get an email, too. Mm-hmm. I didn't give my email at the
They
time
probably
of the
have
call.
you on, if you've emailed before, they probably have it on file.
So incredibly responsive and a follow-up, too.
We have something that, Governor Hogan has challenged all state agencies, actually, to be very, very customers always 100% right.
Always,
and
especially me.
We have something called customer-driven now more than ever. We have, and in case anybody in the listening audience sees an issue on a state highway, which is the Maryland numbered roads and the interstates, you can go to our website, roads.maryland.gov, and Maryland is spelled out. Mm-hmm. Click on Contact Us. There's something, we have a customer care management system on there, and it's tracked automatically, meaning it's not going to slip off somebody's desk. It's going to continue to bug a person until they get back to the customer.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, potholes, drainage issues,
Mine
litter.
was no turn on red sign moved. Apparently, there's only so much. The traffic control officer in South County said he agrees. He's trying to get it to happen.
Right.
But apparently, the overhead sign, there's limitations on how much signage can be put on the traffic signal sign.
Yeah, and there's a science behind that. The Federal Highway Administration did studies on this decades ago about distraction. This is another reason why we don't allow any signs on our right-of-way, which is a big issue down here in the Annapolis area.
Oh, yeah, with the real estate signs.
Anything, there's nothing is permitted except for traffic control devices on SHA property. People can see that, start to take their eye off the road, and then all of a sudden they could be in a situation where they're coming right up on somebody or a pedestrian.
Right.
And then that, a pedestrian is no match for a car. So there is a science behind that, how much you can have up, the mind can process with a given number of seconds you have without taking your eyes off the roadway. Too much is too much.
Yeah.
Then you start to look at it too much, and then when you take your eyes off the road, a lot of bad things can happen.
All right, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, more from Charlie and Maryland State Highway Administration plans during the summer and into the fall. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me, I'm grilling Charlie Gischlar, spokesperson at the Maryland State Highway Administration. I hold him personally accountable, apparently, for everything that goes wrong on our area roads. I'm sorry, Charlie.
It's totally mine. Oh, hey, I don't mind.
So we recently saw one another at an Associated Press event in Ocean City. And the drive down to Ocean City wasn't bad at all. And that was the weekend after Memorial Day weekend. And actually, Memorial Day weekend wasn't bad at all with traffic.
And there's a lot, like I said, what we do and what we're going to be doing for the upcoming Labor Day holiday is, and we don't want to talk about Labor Day because that means almost the bummer of the summer. Yeah. But we suspend non-emergency road work during the high traffic days. But it's also worth noting, if you're heading down to the beach, if you try to take Maryland 404 between Maryland and to get to the Delaware beaches,
right.
We have a major project going underway right now. We're going to be widening that from a 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway. We've been doing little segments from...
And is Delaware complying with this too? Are they doing anything on their end?
Delaware has a lot of it.
Delaware through Middletown is doing major...
They have a ton of work going on the other side of the line. But from our purposes, it's totally about safety. There's been a couple of high-profile crashes there throughout the years, and we have to do something. Right now, what's going to be happening is we're widening that from 2 to 4 lanes.
That's a major improvement.
It was so expedited. Our Secretary of Transportation, that's one of his projects where get it done, and make sure it gets done correctly. So we have 3 different contractors working on that road, 9 miles, and we're going to have it hopefully largely done by the fall.
Nice.
Now, to do that, we're going to have to...
disrupting traffic.
Overnight, there's going to be flagging operations on different parts, particularly toward the eastern end. When you get down toward Denton, you're going to start to see some overnight closures because we have new pipes we have to put since we're expanding the highway.
So that's going on through the month of July into August.
It's going to be all summer into the fall.
Okay.
Now, it's done late at night, and we're trying our best to mitigate the traffic. But the end result, this will be the only summer that's going to be rough there. Next summer you're going to have 4 lanes between US 50 and the town of Denton. All the way through.
Right.
So it's it's going to add that capacity, but more importantly, it's going to improve safety because there will be a divider in the center line instead of just a painted line.
So for those going to North Ocean City, Rehoboth, yada, yada, that's the way you go. For those going to South Ocean City, you're still going in through Route 50 for the most part.
And you hit the normal traffic signal light delays as you make your way through the towns of Easton and Cambridge. Again, they're traffic responsive. A lot of people call me during the day and say, I just got in a crash and I saw that camera on top of the intersection. Can you send me the footage? And
you all don't record.
That's not recording anything other than what it's doing is those cameras are fixed on a point of the road, and when it sees the cars back up to that point, it knows to switch the system into the different phase, into the green phase. So they're all traffic responsive. But any major work we have to do, we've been doing a lot of work on Route 50, and if you're coming back from the beach, we're going to have.
Well, there's the question. If you're coming back from the beach, that light at Chesapeake College that backs, is it at Chesapeake?
213 or
that where everybody gets backed up. Is there any hope for that in the future?
I mean, with this traffic responsive nature, with that whole system I was telling you about, there is hope for that in the future. That does get backed up. It's just simple, too many cars, too little road.
Right.
But any road work we have to do is done late at night and off season. Now, when you come through Queen Anne's County and you're heading toward Anne Arundel County, we just finished resurfacing westbound 50 between 301 and the Severn River Bridge. They do that really quickly here, and they do it great. Now, these roads usually last about 15 to 20 years. The next one we're going to be doing, the next segment, which we will be starting shortly, is going to be westbound between the Kent Narrows Bridge and the Bay Bridge. So,
and that's after the fall, I hope, or no?
No, that can be done at night because the traffic patterns are different. During the week, it's Sunday nights we wouldn't be able to start until much later because obviously people still have it in their mind, come home Sunday, All
right.
And we have to watch what Dover does, the race every year. We have to plan around that and big events and things of that nature.
Okay, back to Ocean City, and this appeared in an article a few years ago that made the rounds online. The sign to Sacramento, California, and one in Sacramento for Ocean City, Maryland.
Yep.
How did that start?
It's really funny. One of our spokespeople that was at State Highway, David Buck, he's now at the Maryland Department of Transportation. He's in the principal's office now, so he's everybody's boss. But his dad was a traffic engineer, and he's the one who came up with that, Mr. Ed Buck, one of our traffic engineers from yesteryear.
Cool.
And he just had that thought, this
so
would be kind of cool.
And so when you're leaving Ocean City, on the Route 50 bridge going over the bay there.
Yes, in Puxet.
Yes, thank you. There is a sign with the mileage to Sacramento, California. Conversely, in Sacramento, California, there is a sign with the mileage to Ocean City.
Yep, somebody did a story on that up there.
I remember that when that made the social media rounds a couple of years ago.
It's one of those kind of fun things to do.
We need more quirky stuff. Yeah. Actually, there's a quirky sign on Route 70.
Oh, yeah. With that genesis of that sign.
What was that?
It was someplace in Denver. Can't remember it. Fort something.
Yeah.
But that went up as a testing for the new Clearview font. It was just a testing. Now, that is real mileage.
The actual font of the signs?
Well, that's another technology that's changed over the years. They're bigger now.
Okay. Because we can't see.
Yeah, but we were testing it there. We were testing it. So our traffic engineers installed that sign, and then they would come around and see how far back they could see it, for the improvement.
And so that just stayed there?
Yeah.
So the sign that you see, it is on Route 70, is that what it is?
It is I-70, yep.
Okay.
Yep, and it's not far past, I think it's right near the Baltimore-Howard County line.
More quirky stuff like that would be really cool, because it makes people pay attention and ask, what the heck is that doing?
You might as well enjoy yourself behind the wheel.
Exactly.
Instead of being so stressed out all the time.
Where can people find out more information again about the State Highway Administration?
Yeah, roads.maryland.gov is our website. Now, if you're planning a trip for the remainder of the summer, we do have something we put together called eRoad Ready. It's our electronic construction brochure. Now, in the years past, and this was one of my projects, when I was doing snow calls, I would start to compile the projects from our list it was just a glorified PDF is what it was, full of hyperlinks to the maps and everything. This year, we use GIS technology with our GIS specialist up in our State Highway building. So when you log on to that eRoad Ready, and it's on our homepage, roads.maryland.gov, you can actually put your address in, and it will show you any road projects near you. And then, of course, you can use the mouse or whatever and zoom in and zoom out. You can see the whole state. But we also put, if there's a camera near that project, we have that hooked into it. We have average daily traffic, what people can expect. And the greatest thing is a layer of GIS on there that's a live congestion map. So if you see
Very
red,
cool.
it's congested. If yellow is getting there, and then green is good to go.
Okay, social media. You're on Twitter, and you're wonderful on Twitter.
MDSHA, yep.
Okay, Facebook also.
Yep, the Maryland
And
State
here's
Highway
the question that trips everybody up. There's this whole generation out there, and you said you have a daughter.
Yep.
That's getting ready to start driving.
Yep.
That doesn't use any of that. They use Snapchat.
Yeah.
So how are you reaching the teenagers? You're not on Snapchat yet, but thoughts
I think
to get
we're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's new. Like this month we started doing it. So
the state agencies need to hire teenagers is the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie, thank you for joining me today.
No problem at all.
This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.